Hi everyone, welcome back to this series of videos on Ind AS, that is Ind AS with Accountsman. So in today's session we'll be discussing Ind AS 19, which talks about employee benefits. Yes, come on, let's get started. Ind AS 19, which talks about employee benefits. This standard is in similar lines with Accounting Standard 15, what we had previously. Similar to any other standard the way we discussed, we'll definitely start with the questions what, when, why and how. So let's take the first question in this standard. What? Yeah. What exactly do you mean when we refer to this word employee benefits? So come on, let me answer. Employee benefits. Okay. Now I have an organization, or I run an organization. In my organization there are a lot of employees. Yes, and from these employees I take services. So I take services. Yeah, they render services to me. In return, I need to pay consideration to them. Yeah, this consideration you might call it salary, you might call it wages, you might call it dearness allowance or any other allowance, perquisite, gratuity or any other thing. So everything together is called as consideration. So I take services from them and I give them consideration. This consideration is called as employee benefits. You get that? So there are two things. One, service is taken, consideration is given. So service is taken and consideration is given. That consideration what is given is called as employee benefits. That is the benefit that is given to the employee for the services that is rendering. And our entire discussion is going to hover around these three topics. Or that is the answer to the question why. That is answer to the question why. Why do we have a standard with regard to employee benefits? The reason is pretty simple. As I told you, there are two terms now. One is consideration and the next one is service. Yeah, I'll use the word C and S. C is consideration, S is service. Now if I have given the consideration and the service is also taken, he has given me the service and I paid him the consideration, then it's all fine case. So this case is what we call it as expense. You get that? So he has given me his service, I have given him the consideration. It is expense, all good. But it becomes a very interesting case where the employee has given me the service, but I have failed to give him the consideration. Then what has happened? He has done his job, but I have not done my job of paying him. It is called outstanding. You get this? So this is what we call as liability. So a liability has to be recorded in this context. That is to be given by employee benefit standard. It will tell how to recognize this liability, how much to recognize, when to recognize, how to treat it, how to present it, and what are the disclosure requirements with regard to same. And the last case is here the consideration is paid by us. We have paid the money on time to him, but he is yet to perform his responsibility. Like he is supposed to give us the services in the next year, but I paid him right now. You get that? So that is also a possible scenario. So this scenario is what we call as advance. We paid the money to our employee in advance. Whenever we have paid the money to our employee in advance, this is our asset. You get that? This liability portion and the asset portion should go to balance sheet, and this expense portion whatever is there will go to P&L. You get that? So how to treat it, when to recognize, what are the various forms of employee benefits, that is what we are going to discuss in the standard. So until now we have answered the question what and why. Next let us go to when. But before I go to when, I forgot a small point to be noted here, saying that there is certain exclusions from this specific standard. So exclusion, you get that? See, I told you any payment made for the service taken from the employee is a consideration, and that is employee benefits. One thing is excluded. Why? There is a specific standard. Yeah, when there is a specific standard, the general standard won't apply. What is that specific standard which is supposed to be excluded from this one? It is Ind AS 102, share based payments, meaning for the services taken from my employee, if I'm giving any shares as consideration, that is regulated by a specific standard called as share based payments, and we're going to discuss it in our Ind AS 102. So for now, that is not covered under Ind AS 19, which is part of our current discussion. So let us start with when. Shall we? Come on, let us go to when. When should we give the benefit to the employees? It depends. It can be at multiple scenarios. Employee benefits, it can be settled at multiple scenarios. I'll tell you, I'll broadly classify it into 3 categories. All the 3 come from here. You get that? Okay. The first classification is during employment. You get that? He is employed with me, is working with me. At that time, I give him some consideration. And last one is after termination, or can I call it post employment. Meaning that employee is no more my employee, that person is my ex-employee, and I still give him some consideration. Why? Because of in the past, whatever services is given me, I pay him livelihood, like post retirement, whatever I pay. That is after termination or post employment. And the third important one is, or the third one is at termination. You get that? Thank you for your services. I'll put one shawl against him, give him one fruit bowl, and also might pay him some consideration. So if I'm paying him any consideration at the time of retirement, at the time of termination, so that is also an employee benefit. So we're going to see the entire employee benefit consideration given by the entity to the employee in 3 different broadly classified categories. That is, one during the employment, second one at the time of termination, and the third one after termination or post employment. Further, my during employment, whatever I'm paying them, I'll classify this into 2 categories. One is short term, other one is long term. We'll see each of it in detail. What is short term, what is long term, what is at the time of termination, what is after termination, post employment. We'll see everything in detail when we take up a little later. If you want, for your ease of understanding, I can give you a few examples. Short term will be salary, wages, share in profit, or basically we can call it bonus, or any other allowances. You get that? Profit based payments. All this will become short term. Long term will be long service leaves. Like I'll give one long leave. Okay, when I say long leave, what I mentioned here is sabbatical leave. Every 5 years, if the employee works in my company, once in 5 years I'll tell you can go on leave for 30 days, or you can go on leave for 40 days, something like that. That is long leave, that is sabbatical leave. Or you can definitely give them annual leave also. That will become short term. Annual leaves in the sense, I'll give you 12 leaves, 12 casual leaves, or 12 sick leaves in the organization during the year. So that will become short term. If I give you long leave, that becomes sabbatical leave. Or they can be long service benefits. Now you might be wondering, what are these long service benefits? If an employee works in my organization for some 5 years, so I might pay some lump sum consideration to him for 5 years of service as a matter of gratitude. Or if he works for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, I might conduct one jubilee function, and in the jubilee function I might give some monetary consideration to him. So jubilee, or any other anniversary functions, if I pay him some money, that becomes long term employee benefit. And at the time of retirement, if I pay, this termination can be either voluntary or non-voluntary. Like employee, he himself will say tata bye bye, I don't want to work anymore, I want to sit at home and then watch TV. Or you might tell the employee, go home, play with your grandchildren, I don't want you to work anymore. So either of it. If he retires by himself, you need to pay him VRS. Or if there is any voluntary, if it is not voluntary, and if he retires, if you still pay him some money, something like gratuity or anything, again that becomes what? Termination compensation. So retrenchment benefits, if any, that you pay. becomes at the time of termination. After termination, whatever you pay as employee benefit to the employee is considered basically into two categories. One is defined, I'll write it little below, defined contribution plan, or it can be called as defined benefit plan. You get that? So these are the two examples or two types basically of our after termination or post employment employee benefits given to our employee. So in one, the contribution, how much money that I'm going to give is fixed. The next one, the benefit that the employee is going to get will be fixed. How much would that cost is dependent upon lot of factors. So this is the basic idea of employee benefits. Multiple stages at which the employee benefits is given to the employee. Now we would have to start discussing each of it in detail. So our first discussion will be short term, then we'll discuss long term benefits, then we'll discuss at the time of termination. After that we'll go to after termination or post employment benefits. And when we discuss short term, we'll discuss each of them in detail. And when we discuss long term again in detail. When we go to our after retirement or after termination, then we'll have to discuss defined contribution as well as defined benefit separately. So now let us start discussing each of these items in detail. So the first point of discussion will be our short term employee benefits. Number one, short term employee benefits. Yeah, very interesting definition is mentioned to us in the standard. I'm going to tell you little similar to the standard language. I'm going to use few terms which you should make yourself familiar with, because that will become handy when we write the answers in the exam to get full marks. You get that? So what exactly do we mean by short term employee benefits? Yeah, first let me explain it to you. Short term means we usually say paid within 12 months. But from when? It goes like this. Now if I draw a timeline here, yeah, just assume this is the date on which service is rendered by employee. You get that? And here comes our year end. And from the year end I will count 12 months. And we arrive at some date. You get that? If you expect to pay for this particular service anytime before this date, then it will become short term employee benefit. You get that? I'll repeat. From the service rendered, you will see the year end, and from the year end you will count 12 months. So after you count 12 months, you will arrive at a date. If you expect to make the payment, yeah, before this 12 months wholly, then it will become short term employee benefits. So date, now I'll write the definition. Expected, I'll write in a little different color. Yeah, expected to pay wholly, not partly, wholly within 12 months from the end of, they won't say year end, it is told as reporting period. From the end of reporting period, from the end of reporting period in the year in which service is rendered. Yeah, this is the date on which service is rendered. I'll count the year end. From the year end, within the 12 months, if the payment is expected to be made, it is called as short term employee benefits. Very important, very easy definition. Don't miss out. Yeah, date before which payment is expected. You get that? This is the date before which the payment is expected to be made by you. If you expect so, it becomes short term. You get that? If it goes beyond, that is long term. However, I'll discuss the definition to you little later. And this short term employee benefits does not include termination benefits. Does not include termination benefits. Like assume after the year end, before 12 months, the employee is terminated and I make some certain payment to him on termination. That will not be coming under short term employee benefits, but that will be in fact be covered under our termination benefits. You get that? So it falls into a different category. Just because it's paid after the year end before 12 months, it will not be considered as short term. It will be considered as short term when after the service is rendered and the that particular reporting period ends, and the payment is expected to be made within the 12 months from that year end, or if even if it is made here also, then it will be considered as short-term employee benefits only. Now there are certain short-term employee benefits that needs to be discussed in detail. So what are the certain short-term short-term employee benefits that needs to be discussed in detail? Number one, salary and what do you say, wages. Then next one we would have to discuss bonus or profit sharing. That's the other name. And the last one is with respect to our annual leaves. Yeah, these three items need detailed discussion. So what we're going to do now is we'll discuss these three items in detail to understand how to measure short-term employee benefits. Come on, let us go to the next one. Short-term benefits. This is continuation. Yeah, I told you I want to discuss three things in detail. Yeah, the first one, salaries and wages. Let us finish off our discussion with regard to salaries and wages. With respect to salaries and wages, whenever the service is rendered by the employees, whenever the service is received by the entity, at that point of time it is to be recognized as expense. Yeah, expense to be recognized when service is rendered. What if you don't pay? Then it will become liability. I've told you in the very first part. See, I've told you right here. If the service is taken but the consideration is not paid, it becomes outstanding. It becomes liability. Yeah. So that's the easy part. Come on. Let us discuss the second part. What is the second part that I mentioned? Bonus or profit sharing. Interesting one. Yeah. Bonus or profit sharing. Very important point that we need to note with regard to bonus or profit sharing is this bonus or profit sharing is expense, or I can call it is a charge against my income. You get that? It is not appropriation of income. It is not appropriation of income. It is not appropriation. What is it? It is expense. It is charge against my income. It will decrease my profit. It is not an after. It is not a below line item. It is above line item. You get that? That's the first and foremost point. Next, how would bonus be usually decreased? What is announced? Two things. One, bonus can be either based on law or statute. You get that? Based on that. If it is based on law or based on statute, then it will become liability, or you are obligated to record it when service is rendered. Whenever the service is rendered by the employee, you are obligated to pay him the bonus. Or what if it is performance driven? You will tell, whenever you perform better, I'll give. So then you would have to declare that yes, the performance levels are accepted. So on declaration, you record the liability. But it is not like at the end of there, when you arrive at the profit, it becomes a liability. There is something called as conservatism or prudence that needs to be addressed. You get that? Because of conservatism coming into picture, for the performance based bonus or for other bonus, you would have to create provision. What would have to create? Provision. Whenever we create provision or whenever we record that as a liability, how do we do it? It is based on two prime conditions. Yeah, two prime conditions are to be satisfied. Yeah, the first prime condition is probable outflow. You remember, this is the same words that we used previously also in other standards. Then the next one is there should be reliable estimate. Yeah, whenever there is probable outflow and reliable estimate with regard to that specific item, only then you will create the provision. If not, you cannot record it. You get this? But the standard doesn't use this language, probable outflow. It says, the standard, however, does not use the word probable outflow in this context in Ind AS 19. The standard uses the word legal or constructive obligation. So even we'll replace the word. Basically, the legal or constructive obligation turns down to probable outflow. There is a legal obligation for you to pay. Maybe there is a payment of bonus act which you would have come across, and this act will enforce the organization to pay a certain amount of bonus to the employee. So there is an obligation which is legal in nature. So that is probable outflow. Or there is a constructive liability. It is a usual custom or tradition of the organization to pay certain bonus at the time of Diwali or at the time of Dasara or at the time of Ugadi or certain festival that the organization celebrates or the founders day of the organization. So if such routine custom or practice is there, it is a constructive obligation that is there between the employee and the organization. So it will also lead to probable outflow. So the organization has to record the same. You get that? So the probable outflow is legal or constructive obligation, and you should be able to reliably measure it. If you cannot reliably measure it, how can you make it sit in the financial statements without assigning some value? Now when you ask your provision for bonus to come and sit in your PL, you should assign some value to it, not to write in the amount column. It's not your friend that you'll take for a movie and then just make it sit there. When you make it sit in the PL, you would have to assign some value to it. You get that? So that's the important point. And now let us see the last part that we have regard to short-term benefits, that is annual leaves. Yeah, every organization will give certain amount of leaves to its employees, saying that okay, every year you will be allowed 12 leaves, out of which 4 leaves will be sick leaves, 8 leaves will be casual leaves. Like you can take them casually without giving any reason. Sick leaves if you fall sick. Now organizations usually give this leave policy with certain amount of conditions, that is it carry forward is allowed, carry forward is not allowed, something of that sort. Carry forward is allowed means, assume that you've been assigned 12 leaves and you are a very good employee, you took only 10 leaves this year. So those 2 leaves which was allocated to you but you failed to take can be carried forward to the next year. So meaning next year you have 12 leaves for the next year plus 2 leaves of this year which you didn't take up. So that is carry forward allowed. Certain organizations might not let you carry forward the leaves. Might not let you carry forward in the sense you have 12 leaves in this year. If you don't take 12 leaves, it will become 0 at the end of the year. So you'll have only 12 leaves for the next year. There is no point in carrying forward the leaves of this year to next year. So this would actually have an accounting impact. So we are going to discuss it in the next page. Come on. So let us discuss annual leaves. Yeah, with regard to annual leaves, 2 possible options. First one, accumulation allowed, and next one, no accumulation or non-accumulated leaves. You get that? Or we can basically call it no accumulation allowed. You get that? So when we use this word accumulation, what does it mean? Carry forward. Oh, I'll write it completely. Carry forward. Carry forward. With respect to accumulation allowed, carry forward is allowed. With respect to accumulation not allowed, carry forward is not allowed. Now assume that we'll stick to the same example. I have given my employee 12 leaves, but my employee has taken 10 leaves. So with regard to 2 leaves, assume that I allow carry forward to him. Then what would happen? With regard to these two leaves will be taken in the next year by him. When he takes these 2 leaves in the next year, can I deduct the salary to him proportionately? No. I would have to pay the salary in the future to him. So next year he'll work 2 days short, but I have to still pay him totally. You get that? So he'll work short, but I would have to still pay. So payment when in the future. So there is to be future payment to be made to that particular employee. But is he going to work in the future? No. The benefit is exhausted. So benefit taken now. Yeah. Listen, benefit is taken now only, but the payment is to be made in the future. So when I have taken the benefit right now, but I am supposed to make the payment in the future to him, it is obligation on my part. You get that? It is obligation to pay in the future without he giving any benefit to me. So it will become a liability. Against this, I would have to create provision. What is it that I would have to make? I would have to create provision. Why should I make a provision? Because it is liability. Why is it a liability? Because in the future my employee is not going to work for those 2 days, but still I would have to pay him. You get that? Why should I pay him in the next year? Because those 2 days is worked in this year only. This year he deserved to take those 2 days off, but he didn't take. So I've taken the benefit from him. He's given the service to me now, but I'll make payment in the future. You get that? So that becomes my future payment. So it's a liability. You get that? However, if the carry forward is not allowed, then what will happen? Then there is no future payment. Is there future payment? No future payment. Am I going to pay him in the future? No. Next year, if he takes those 2 days off, I'm going to cut his salary for those 2 days. You get that? Benefit is also taken right now. So there is no concept of provision. No provision. Whatever is liable is paid, that much will become an expense. So this is a happy case. So this is the case where we need to be little too cautious. This is an important case. You get that? When the accumulation is allowed, we need to create provision. Now the question is, what is the extent to which we need to create provision? So this provision is to be created to the extent of unutilized leaves. To the extent of unutilized leaves carried forward. At time, the organization might have a policy saying that 12 leaves are allocated to you. Maximum of 2 leaves can be carried forward. You get that? Now assume you took 9 leaves during the year. What was given to you is 12. What you took is 9. So 3 days of leave you didn't take. But carry forward, maximum carry forward allowed is only 2. So 1 day is exhausted. So that 1 will become non-accumulated, 2 will become accumulated. So basically we need to create provision to the extent of unutilized leaves which are carry forward. Unutilized leaves in our example is 3, but which can be carried forward is 2. So we create provision only to the extent of 2. It is the extent to which the benefit is taken, but the payment is to be made in the future. So by this we are technically done with short-term benefits. So when we are done with short-term benefits, we are done with this part. So can I take it in green? So we are done with short-term benefits. Now what I'm going to discuss? I'm going to discuss long-term benefits before we call an end for our today's session. Come on, let us discuss long-term benefits. Number 2. Long-term employee benefits. Yeah, what exactly would mean by long-term employee benefits? I mentioned this to you a little earlier, but I'll however explain it to you once again. See, the date on which the service is taken from the employee to us, from that date we go to the reporting period's end of the year. After the end of the year we count 12 months. If we expect not to pay within the 12 months from the end of the year in which the service is rendered, then such specific benefit taken from the employee or such benefit to be given to the employee is considered as long term. First, however, I'll definitely show you the timeline. Then I'll write the definition to you that is given as per the standard. So service, employee has given us services on this date. We'll go to end of reporting period. Okay, I'll write year end. But the term is actually reporting period. Okay, year end. And then we'll count 12 months. And then we'll arrive at the date. You get that? And there is expectation that you will not pay before this date. Yeah, date after which payment is expected to be made. Yeah, if you expect to pay before this date, yeah, anytime this side, then it will become short term. If you expect to pay after this date, like you pay somewhere here like this, so then it will become what? Long-term employee benefit. Now come on, let us write the definition. Not expected, that's how it starts. The language starts with not expected. Not expected to pay within 12 months from the end of reporting period in which service is rendered. Yeah, service is rendered here, we go to the year end. From there we count 12 months. If it is expected to be made as a payment after that date, then it becomes what is a long term. See, it's exactly the same as we wrote here, but one thing is, if I write not here, this becomes long term. You get that? Yeah. And we mentioned during short term employee benefits that termination benefits are not included. You get that? Something similar here in terms of long term, it's that it is date after that, but definitely before, but before termination. It is not like after 12 months means it will go on till the end. Like, now assume that the employee is appointed at the age of 23. So after 12 months, at the age of 60, I am paying him some VRS scheme ka money. Can I call that as long-term employee benefit? No, no. That VRS is at the time of retirement or at the time of termination. So this is paid before retirement, but after the 12 months from the end of that reporting period in which service is basically ended by our employee. So this is long-term benefits. Yeah, I hope you understood. And let us now mention as to what exactly are long-term employee benefits. So long service leaves, yeah, or long service benefits, yeah. Example can be long service leaves are basically sabbatical leaves. If any, basically given to that particular employee, or long service benefits is basically our jubilee payments that we basically make to our employee, or we tell him like in case of disability, I'll certainly pay you certain some amount of money, that disability happening during the in the organization's function or something. So that all this will be considered in our long service benefits. So let us discuss this a little in detail. Yeah. Yep. Long term employee benefits. This long-term employee benefits is an obligation we would have to pay in the future. So this is future obligation. Can I ignore this future obligation? No. We would have to keep in mind conservatism, or what we call as prudence. If there is an expected liability, we need to record it. You get this? And how do we record it? Now I need not pay it right now. I might have to pay after 2 years or after 3 years, after 4 years. So I would have to record it at the present value of the future cash flows. You get this? So liability, I'll write here, there is liability. To be precise, it is future liability. This future liability is recorded at present value. Okay, I'll use black. It is to be recorded at present value of future cash outflow. Yeah, after some 3 years I would have to pay 10,000. What is the present value of the same? And I have to record it at this value. This is also called as defined benefit obligation. What do you mean by defined benefit obligation? In the future, there is supposed to be some benefit that is supposed to be given by me to my employee. That benefit is defined, the amount is not defined. Meaning, I've told my employee, if you meet with any disability during the functionality of the organization, I will make it good. I'll ensure that your surgery is done, and I'll ensure that your livelihood is taken care of. Now, how much benefit is to be given to the employee? That is not sure, because that is dependent upon the kind of disability the employee will face. So it is very not unsure. So that day we need to incur. So we need to probably estimate the amount and then see the present value of the same and then record it. You get this? So this is with respect to future liability. Whenever we have a future liability, what do? Now assume that in the future you need to send your daughter to abroad for some education, or you need to get your son married or daughter married. So what do? Or in the future you want to build one house. So there is a future liability. In order to meet that, you create a future asset. You start saving from now, so that you will have sufficient money to build the house. You will have sufficient money to get your child educated. You have sufficient money to get your child married. So what do? You create a future asset. Yes, this future asset is called as planned asset. This future asset is called as, we can call it plan assets. Yeah, these assets are planned so that one fine day these assets will grow up to meet this liability, and these assets are always supposed to be recorded at fair value. When I say fair value, I mean Ind AS 113. You get that? So very important point, these assets are supposed to be recorded at fair value and not at cost. It is not supposed to be recorded at cost. It is always supposed to be recorded at the fair value only. Yeah. So I have a future liability. To tackle it, I have a future asset. So the future liability is to be mentioned at the present value, and the future asset is to be recorded at the fair value. And they both, one fine day, what will happen? This asset will grow up and then mature, and this liability also will grow up and then mature. What will I do? I'll sell my asset, get the money, and that money will be used to pay my present value of the liability that is going to arise in the future. But whenever I mention this plan assets, by plan assets I mean government bonds or any risk-free securities. That is where the usual investment will be basically made. Now the concept here is, what will happen if my present value of the future cash flows is not sufficient? Meaning, I am telling you, present value of future cash flows, that is defined benefit obligation, is greater than fair value of plan assets. Then my liability is more than the asset. Then what would I? Whenever such a case arises where my present value of my the future cash flows, that is liability, is greater than my asset, then what is it? We basically have a deficit. And the vice versa case is also possible, wherein I'll write it not equal to. Yeah, whenever these are not equal to, it might create to creation of deficit or surplus. When will it be deficit? When my liability is greater than asset, it is a deficit. When my liability is lesser than asset, then it is surplus. And this deficit or surplus is to be identified. So to do that, we need to basically compare our present value of future cash flows along with our fair value of plan assets. You get this? And the next important point that needs to be noted with regard to long-term employee benefits is, as I mentioned, this provision for liability, provision that I'm basically going to make, provision for future liability will eventually go down to become my liability. Like after 3 years, I'm supposed to pay 10,000. So today I create provision of some 7,000. So at the end of 3 years or 4 years, at the end of the term, that 7,000 should go down to become 10,000. How will it become? So provision is becoming actual. It's moving towards the actual. So this will happen by way of interest. So every year I need to compute the interest at the rate at which the discounting was done previously. Yeah, this interest is my expense and it will go to P&L. I'll write here, interest will be my expense that should be transferred to P&L every year. And this expense, whatever the debit is made, will be compensated by crediting the provision for that liability, which will increase my liability to reach the actual liability amount at the date of maturity. And the next and important thing is, we need to do remeasurement, or I can tell reassess. Reassess my defined benefit obligation. See, I told you, I have not told as to how much money will I pay my employee. I have told my employee that I'll give him certain benefit. On that day, whatever the money that might cost me to give that benefit is to be compensated by me. So what will I do? That benefit has to be reassessed at the end of each financial year. And if it changes, we need to recreate the provision. We need to change our provision. So such change in the provision, whatever is happening, is again revenue. And that should also be adjusted to P&L account. And this increase, if it is there, what do you say? Can I call it increase? Increase in defined benefit obligation, if it is any, it is called as service cost. And this service cost is transferred to P&L account. What do you mean by service cost? Now, today I expected that the defined benefit obligation to me with regard to an employee is 10,000 after 3 years. But after 1 year, I reassess the figure and I now think that the obligation will not be 10,000, it will be 12,000. So there is increase. That increase is called as service cost. Service cost can be future service cost, past service cost, present service cost. So that is not the current matter of discussion. If there is any service cost arising because of increase in the defined benefit obligation, yeah, that increase in the defined benefit obligation also will go to P&L account. So what are the two items that will go to P&L account? Number one, interest on the provision for liability, which will turn our provision for liability to liability. And the next one is service cost, that is increase in the defined benefit obligation that is arising on reassessment of the defined benefit obligation at the end of each reporting period. Both of them will be transferred to our P&L account. So by this we are done with our long-term employee benefits also. So what did we discuss? We discussed short-term employee benefits as well as our long-term employee benefits. Let us call this an end for our today's discussion with respect to Ind AS 19 employee benefits. In the next session, we'll discuss with regard to termination employee benefits and post-employment or post-termination benefits. See you all in the next video on Ind AS 19. Till then, stay in the game.